Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cody and Joey Reviews. I, of course, am Cody.
And I'm Joey.
All right, and we have been gone for quite a while. You've been off to college, and I, of course, have been busy with work and family stuff.
Yep.
But here we are back now in December, talking about probably the movie I've been waiting for the most, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned on the show before, but huge Star Wars fan right here. Grew up with it ever since I was a kid. Loved the series. Wasn't, huge into it. I know a lot of people, they read a whole lot of the expanded universe stuff. That wasn't really my thing. But the 6 movies, as a kid, I thought were perfect. Just a great series. Watched them all the time. And, in fact, when I went in to go see this movie, I didn't have to rewatch them. I knew them so well. I knew almost every bit of dialogue, every sound effect, every piece of score. I just knew them so well. And I'm just a huge fan of Star Wars. And how about you, Joey?
Yeah, I'm also a huge fan of Star Wars as well. I mean, these are like films from childhood. I mean, dating back to '97 with the re-release. Taco Bell had some toys, and I think I still have those toys somewhere. And of course, those original trilogy, the 4, 5, and 6 are just perfect films. I mean, everything about them, the characters, the music. And of course, I still enjoyed the prequels to a certain extent. I mean, we can look back at Episode 1, kind of laugh at it. Episode 2, it has its moments. And I thought Episode 3 was a great entry, and I thought it was a great way to end the saga, as we thought 10 years ago. But little do we know, they were going to continue on with a sequel trilogy.
Definitely Disney reached into his pocket, pulled out $4 billion, gave it to George Lucas, and said, you know what? Let's continue Star Wars. And after Episode 3 came out, I was of the opinion there would be no more Star Wars. George Lucas had told his story. It's all done, said, and good. I didn't think we'd get another Star Wars, not including that Clone Wars film that came out a few years ago.
I didn't watch that one.
I refuse to believe that that's any part of Star Wars, but I thought we were done. But I was so excited when they announced it. I'm still excited to even be talking about it. Now, we should say this movie was intentionally kept secret. I think it's a J.J. Abrams thing to do to sort of keep his movies secret. He doesn't want people to know too much about it. So obviously this movie is going to have a ton of spoilers. And in my opinion, it's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling. Would you agree?
Big time. I mean, for a movie like this, in order for us to go kind of in depth and talk about what we liked and things that we didn't like, we're gonna have to go over the plot points. Now, Disney and J.J. Abrams have done a really good job of keeping the film secret up to this point. So, if you haven't seen the film, the last thing we want to do is give it away. But right now, we're gonna kind of give our general verdict of the film, and then following that, we'll kind of go in depth and then review the film from there.
Oh, definitely. And that's why we're not even going to have a clip of the movie before this review, because we're almost 100% sure that they would take this video down the instant we upload it, because they have kept this thing under wraps so well the past few years that they're very protective of this, of course. So, general thoughts up front. Yeah, I actually really like this movie. Now, I have seen it twice at this point. The first time I saw it, I had to think to myself, did I really like this movie, or did I just kind of trick myself into liking this movie? Maybe my expectations were really high. I tried to go in with very tempered expectations, but it's Star Wars. I can't help it. But leaving the theater, I was like, yeah, it was pretty good, but I'm not sure entirely it was really good. I am so happy that I got to see it a second time, because I think on a repeat viewing, resetting expectations, this movie is much better. Of course, I have my problems with it. We'll get with that in spoilers, but right now, after seeing it 2 times, really taking it in, digesting it, I would say, it's one of the best. It ranks actually as number 2, right behind Empire Strikes Back as my favorite Star Wars film. I would give it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I thought very entertaining. So glad to see the Star Wars universe back and done justice.
Definitely. So for me, I also watched the movie twice. So the first time I watched it, the expectations were really high. There was a lot of hype kind of coming into the film. So after watching it that first time, I definitely enjoyed it. I enjoyed it more than the prequels. They're better than the prequels.
Oh, definitely.
But I thought to myself, like, I don't know, like, if it's good as, like, the original trilogy, because a lot of things were very similar in terms of, like, aesthetics and, like, plot line. But after watching it a second time, I enjoyed it definitely a little more. Some moments that I wasn't a fan of in the film kind of sunk in a little better. Things that I wasn't happy with, I felt better about. So so overall, I'm happy because this film delivered on what I wanted. I wanted a classic Star Wars film with a story that's simplistic and not about politics or, negotiations and stuff like that. So now, I mean, like, I'm still ranking this film high. It's better than the prequels, but I'm going to rank it as, like, my fourth favorite because I still think that the original trilogy is a little better. But I'm still giving this film a 4 out of 5 stars, and I absolutely recommend that you go watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so from now on, we're basically going to spoil this movie right out the ass.
Yeah.
So if you have not seen this movie, and of course you just heard, go see this movie.
Go see it.
But if you haven't seen it yet, kind of hard to believe it's been out for a few days, and it's making a ton at the box office.
Yeah. It's going to be number one.
Oh, definitely.
Of all time.
Stop the review right now. We'll give you a few seconds to pause, go see the movie, then come back and watch us, if you want to. It's pretty much up to you.
I think it'll be good. So here we go. Spoilers.
All right.
So I guess one of the things that kind of hit me the most was Han Solo's character. When I saw him from the very beginning, I mean, it was one of the best moments of the film. The entire audience was clapping. Just something about him. I mean, like, he has, like, top billing in the cast, even though he's not necessarily, like, the main character. So when his death came near the end, it really got to me, and it really bothered me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I was kind of lukewarm, no pun intended. I was sort of lukewarm on seeing Han Solo again. Like, he comes in, it's kind of cheesy, He's like, you've seen it in the trailer where he's like, Chewie, we're home, and all that, and it's kind of done over the top. He's like, well, you can tell Han Solo got the Millennium Falcon back. And I was like, I'm not sure if this is working. But definitely as the movie got on, once we started learning more about what Han Solo has gone through for the past 30 years, I really felt like Harrison Ford is actually at top game here. And not only is he, but his character is. I really feel like, yeah, you've seen this character age. He's obviously grown ever since the last time we've seen him. He's more learned about the whole universe itself. He's not as cynical, although he still kind of is. I mean, he's Han Solo.
Definitely.
But definitely I felt a growth in the character. I thought Harrison Ford definitely giving it his all. He likes to be there, probably because, as you mentioned, they killed his character off, which is something he wanted to do in Return of the Jedi, but George Lucas was like, we can't sell dead Han toys. So we're going to keep you alive. So definitely is probably happy. He's like, well, I don't have to do 500 more of these. But I thought he worked very well. And you talk about Harrison Ford, he's a returning character. I want to actually talk about the newer characters.
Okay.
Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, and Kylo Ren. I thought all of them did an exceptional job. I thought they all worked together very well. They all had a chemistry that, you see it through every frame. They play off of each other very well. And of course, they play very well integrated with the old cast.
Definitely.
I feel like, everyone here is at their top game.
Yeah. I mean, seeing Harrison Ford return, it was obvious that he really cared a lot more about his role this time around than in Episode 6. I felt like in Return of the Jedi, he kind of phoned in his performance. But this time around, you can kind of see like a fire in his eyes. I mean, he definitely is happy to be there. He gives a classic performance. He's funny. I mean, all the things that we know about Han is back.
Oh, definitely.
So, I mean, if you've watched the originals, you're going to like this one in terms of that character. But yeah, I guess in terms of the original cast, I wanted to see maybe like a little more of Luke and Leia. But I guess after watching it that second time, kind of like I mentioned earlier, I was upset about Luke because you only saw him at the very, very end. And he was there for like maybe 30 seconds. He didn't have any dialogue. But then I thought, well, this story is entirely about Luke Skywalker. I mean, it's about finding Luke. So, I mean, it's kind of cool that he's like the central plot point. So maybe that's why he got second billing. I don't know. But after watching it, I kind of felt better about that. And knowing that he's going to come back is that, like, in Episode 8, he's probably going to be training Rey. And then Leia, I thought, did a good job given what she had. I mean, I thought that like they did a good job by not like shoehorning her into the story. I mean, she fit where she needed to. She was a general. She sent Poe on like the mission and all that. But I guess like I'll like quickly go over like the 3 new characters, and then like I'll let you kind of see how you feel about them. I thought Rey was great. She was like a really strong female lead. You could tell that she's going to kind of be like the new Luke in this trilogy. She's from the planet Jakku, and she finds a droid with secret plans or like a secret map. And then she meets up with Finn, John Boyega's character. And I thought, I mean, he was probably my favorite character in the film. He was funny. He went from like stormtrooper to helping the like resistance get the droid back. And then, I mean, you see him even like wield like a lightsaber, and that was my favorite part. Was whenever he wielded like the lightsaber against like a stormtrooper or even against Kylo Ren, it was just cool because we've never seen like a non-Force character besides Grievous use a lightsaber, and it was just, and like the fights were just so honest and brutal. They weren't like choreographed dances like you saw like in the prequels,
like in the Phantom Menace. Yeah, definitely talk about that fight. I thought it was really good. The first time I saw it, I was like, I'm not sure if this is exactly working. There's something weird about the choreography, the way that it was staged. They're just kind of chopping down trees most of the time. But definitely seeing it a second time, it's actually really energetic. I really like the stuff between Finn and Kylo Ren when they start fighting.
Definitely.
But definitely when Rey takes over, it gets really good.
The music plays.
Yeah, I like her character arc in this. You say Finn is your favorite character. I'm actually going to go ahead and say Rey is my favorite character. I thought, not only is she a really good actress in this, like better than I would say Mark Hamill was in that original.
Oh, yeah.
I really liked her journey throughout the story, trapped on a desert planet, much like Luke, wanting to get out, wanting to find her family. I thought it was also satisfying. And let's see, we should talk about the special effects in this. What's really cool about this movie, and what I think J.J. Abrams does with a lot of his movies, practical effects, puppetry, animatronics. I thought, what a nice thing to do, because if you've watched those prequels, they're all CGI.
It's all green screen, blue
basically
screen.
Maybe Phantom Menace has some real sets, maybe some real characters. A few of them, but overall, those movies, the reason why they don't really work as well as they should, they don't feel like they're in a real place.
Right.
This, though, it feels like a real universe. It looks just like the original films.
Yes.
I don't think all the practicals are that great. I feel like sometimes they look a little fake, and they don't move right or something. But overall, very great. The CGI work is the best we've seen in any Star Wars film. With the exception of a couple of CGI characters, but only because the movie's so practical up to this point that it kind of feels out of place.
Right. I know what you mean for sure. I mean, what I was like relieved to see is that like the movie was shot in film. The sets were real, and it's like they looked like authentic. I mean, George Lucas originally had the idea of like a used future, and we saw that in episodes 4 through 6. But I think when it got to the prequels, everything kind of looked shiny and clean, and it didn't look real. So just the fact that J.J. Abrams, kind of went out of his way to go travel around the world and, filming on the real locations, using real puppets. And of course, there were the CGI characters, but I thought that they were appropriate where they needed to be. I mean, it like aesthetically looked like the Star Wars that we know and love and that we missed to see. I also thought, speaking of CGI, Maz Kanata was a really great character, especially that they brought the Force back to what it was meant to be. It's this like energy field that surrounds us and binds us. It has nothing to do with midichlorian counts.
No, God no. Let's forget about that.
I was going to say one more thing about Poe Dameron. I thought that he was also a really great character too. I feel like he might be like the next Han Solo just because he's kind of like cocky and kind of funny. Him and Finn had really great scenes together. I think one of the very first scenes when they meet each other and Finn says his name is FN2187. One thing that was cool is that it's a reference to Leia's cell in episode 4.
Yeah, definitely.
Cell block 2187. And also, in George Lucas's first film, THX 1138, The characters kind of had like robotic names. I don't know if that was like an indirect reference to George Lucas's original work. Who knows? Maybe I'm just
It could have
overthinking
been.
it. Yeah, but I really loved like their scenes together because like they had like a lot of like human spirit, and that's what made the original film so great. The human spirit.
Definitely. And you talked about Poe Dameron. He has some great quips, jokes throughout the beginning of the movie. But here's something that might lose hardcore Star Wars fans. The humor in this is overall really good, but at times it does not feel Star Wars. Of course, Disney owns Marvel as well. Some of these quips feel like, Robert Downey Jr. would be telling this to the other Avengers sort of thing, especially at the beginning with Poe Dameron when he's captured by Kylo Ren and he's like, sorry, I can't hear you through that mask. Who talks
first?
Yeah, like, who talks first? Do I talk first or do you talk first? And I was like, it's good. It just doesn't feel Star Wars. And most of the time, I think for hardcore Star Wars fans, they're going to be a little let down because the humor in this doesn't feel Star Wars. But then again, the humor in this is completely better than any of the humor in the prequels. Yeah. I'm not willing to say it's better than anything in the original trilogy, but yeah, it was very funny. And you mentioned Poe Dameron again. Great character. Him and Finn, great chemistry. Just every scene they're in together. You can tell that these two are going to be partners in the future, with the Resistance or Rebellion or whatever they're calling themselves this time. I feel like Poe Dameron wasn't used in the movie enough. Like, he's in the beginning, he's captured by Kylo Ren. Finn helps him escape. They leave, they're shot down, and they crash land on Jakku. And then he's presumed dead. Like, Finn thinks that he has died in the crash. And then we don't see him for about a third of the movie. And then he comes back, and they kind of sort of glossed over. He's like, oh, I didn't die. My seat flew out of the thing, and I didn't see you, and all that. I felt like we could have used more of him. And what I'm hoping that Episode 8 does is features him more, because he has the potential, like you said, to be the new Han Solo of the series.
Definitely.
But if I'm talking about more, I guess I should go into these are the feelings I had the first time seeing this movie, the disappointments I had. First of all, the John Williams score in this.
I can't wait to comment on that.
It's fine, which I guess is okay for anyone else. Like, you can obviously tell it's John Williams. It has its kind of sound to it. And of course, I've always noticed when they bring back the classic themes, of course, the opening scroll, the binary sunset, Han and Leia's love theme, all that. I feel like none of the new music stood out at all. And that was a big disappointment to me because it's John Williams. He's iconic. He's created some of the best music that has ever come out from film. And it's like, he just kind of phoned it in. Like, he wasn't into it. And that was a real disappointment going into it. But actually, the one time it really stood out was when they tried that new cantina scene. Terrible. Like, it was, I don't even know how to describe it. You guys will know when you see it, but it was just bad. What do you think of the score?
Yeah, so I mean, like, with the score, that was one of the 3 or 4 things I was like disappointed with walking out the first time. It was the music, I think, the humor, and then some similarities that just kind of felt like cheap ripoffs to the original. Now, I mean, like, not all the similarities were ripoffs. I mean, a lot of them worked. And then I guess like the underuse of the original cast, which is probably like the most minor complaint, because ultimately I think that they were like implemented well in the story. But I mean, yeah, like with the music, I do have to comment on that. I was disappointed with the soundtrack. That was one of the biggest criticisms I still have, because after downloading the soundtrack and listening to all the tracks, nothing stood out. I mean, I thought maybe like the first time listening to it, okay, maybe I didn't catch everything. But really, the only times that I got like that classic, goosebump feeling from listening to Star Wars is when they brought back like the Force theme or like the classic motifs whenever like the Falcon shows up or Han Solo shows up or anything like that. So, I mean, like, I was glad to hear that John Williams was going to come back. That was a big thing for me when they announced it. But, I mean, when you compare the music to this film, to the originals, I mean, 4, 5, and 6, I mean, there are just those songs will be timeless forever. I don't know if people are going to still be listening to the Force Awakens soundtrack 30 years later.
Yeah, and even the prequels, they had some good themes in there. I mean, Duel of Fates was amazing, and even Battle of the Heroes,
Battle of the Heroes
in Episode 3 was really great. So I feel like, man, he just didn't pull it out for this one, and that's highly disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't buy the soundtrack. I didn't download it because I was going to wait until after the movie. It's like I want to hear the new themes, and I just want to see how great they are. And then the movie's over, and I was like, there was actually nothing that stood out.
Yeah, only when they brought back the originals.
Yeah, definitely. And you talked earlier about Luke Skywalker. That was the biggest disappointment walking out, because
Agreed.
One of the reasons that J.J. Abrams even did this film, because originally Disney offered him to direct this film, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that because there's too much expectations. I might not meet them. The reason he came back was the question of, where is Luke? What has Luke been doing?
Right.
And so when you know that, and you see the trailers intentionally leave him out, and everyone's asking, where is Luke?
Mm-hmm.
You think he's going to have a more pivotal role, but he doesn't. He basically shows up at the end, which is essentially a cameo.
Right.
Yeah, it really let me down. But seeing it a second time, you know what? I feel like it was the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Luke is this myth. He's this legend that people tell each other. And there's a magical map out there that will lead to him. Mm-hmm. We need to find it. And so the whole thing is finding Luke. Now, of course, in the sequel, I'm hoping he has a bigger part. I'm sure he's going to have a bigger part. But it was a disappointment I had. Not so much anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Because, I mean, like, for all of us, like, when they announced the cast, I think, early last year, I mean, I think, like, I was the most excited about that they brought back the original cast. And I thought that there was going to be, like, a reunion with that original cast, all three of them. But after Han Solo got killed, we're not going to see that, unfortunately, anymore. Especially that Han Solo can't turn into, like, a Force ghost like Obi-Wan did after Darth Vader killed him in Episode 4. So, but I guess, like, it worked for the best, but really, like, after that first time, not even hearing him say one word after waiting almost 2 years to see Mark Hamill back on screen, and he had second billing, it was a disappointment. But I think I feel better about that now. But also, I think with the humor, I mean, like, I did want to go over that as well. I mean, a lot of it just kind of felt like a Marvel movie, which I wasn't happy about. I mean, Han Solo's humor was on point just because it was derived from the classic humor.
It was the same as it used to be.
You know, like, whenever, like, he gets mad or, arrogant, it's just classic Han.
Definitely.
I mean, Finn was definitely funny. Sometimes I felt like maybe, like, he overdid the humor a little too much.
And,
and I mean, like, BB-8 as well. I mean, some of the parts were funny, but, I mean, I think they kind of overused BB-8's cuteness a little bit, in my opinion.
No, I thought they did it right. Like, he was the right blend of cute and funny, and, like, I felt it was perfect because it could have gone wrong. They could have done Jar Jar Binks all over again.
Yeah.
But no, they did it right. He was cute, he was funny, and he worked. He didn't steal the spotlight in every scene that he was in, which was a definite plus for me.
Yeah, like, by no means is, like, my criticism of the humor at the level of, like, the prequels. I mean, the prequels are, like, on, like, a completely different level of bad humor. I mean, this movie really, I mean, it really was good.
All right, we should probably talk more about the villain this time.
Yeah,
and the organization that he's a part of. Basically, out of the ashes of the Empire rose the First Order, which is basically the Empire. Yeah. It's the Empire. Come on, they have a Death Star, which is basically a hollowed out planet. I like that idea. A little derivative.
They made a third Death Star.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, why that worked out so well the first time.
Yeah.
But no, Kylo Ren, I thought he was really good. The actor that they got, of course, he's doing a good job acting. I feel like his character is what Anakin should have been in the prequels. Mm-hmm. Like, he's very conflicted. He has good parents, of course. We already announced it. Spoiler alert: Kylo Ren is Han Solo and Leia's son. And basically, he was training under Luke, and then he turned to the dark side. The Knights of Ren is what they're referred to, not the Sith. The Knights of Ren. And so it sort of split Han and Leia apart, and it's what caused Luke to go into exile. But he's a very conflicted character. He wants to be good, but he has this rage inside him and this temptation to go over to the dark side. I thought his character worked very well. I wasn't 100% on board with him the first time. I was like, I'm not sure if he's a very good villain. But the second time I saw it, I saw the characterization, I saw his conflict, and I thought it played out very well throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
Good addition. Probably not the best villain. Probably not better than Darth Vader, but certainly he is worthy to go on and do better things throughout this trilogy.
Yeah, like with Kylo Ren, like when I first heard it, I mean, I thought that like his voice was really cool, like with the mask. But like at the same time, you kind of get the feeling that he's kind of like a cheap version of Darth Vader, and it would like the Star Killer base is like another Death Star, and like and like that's the thing for me. It's like when I would like compare like Darth Vader to Kylo Ren, Darth Vader was better. When I compared the Star Killer base to the original Death Star and like the trench run, I mean, like nothing can match up to that. But ultimately, I think after kind of watching Kylo Ren twice, and I mean after like he killed Han Solo, like I really hated him. So I'm like, well, if he's able to do this, then he's definitely like a really bad guy, and that kind of shows like what kind of villain we're dealing with. We're not, and also like whenever like he got mad and he would like slash at those like computers and stuff. That was pretty crazy. And also I really thought that like the First Order was like very intimidating, which I liked. I like that like the stormtroopers were able to shoot and not miss.
Yeah, definitely.
And also like the speech that like General Hux gave before they fired the Starkiller base was like eerie. I mean, it was really like evil and like sadistic. I mean, it almost felt like
they were Nazis,
like
basically.
Nazi speech.
Yeah,
exactly.
They even get the Nazi salute. I was like, that's kind of unsubtle.
Yeah. So, and I guess like one thing that was odd is that like you get these really dark moments. You get the Han Solo death. You get the General Hux Hitler speech. But at the same time, you have these like really funny moments. So it is kind of an odd mix, but I mean, like these are like really minor criticisms. These aren't gonna like derail the film from greatness by any means.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we talked about this movie quite
a
bit.
Yeah.
Who knows how long we've been going? We haven't really been keeping time, but
yeah,
definitely really like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
What is so great about this movie is I want to see more. They've done a very good job. Now I think some fans that I've seen on the internet are really disappointed. This movie is basically almost a remake of A New Hope with a little bit of Empire blended in there. And certainly that was sort of a problem for me, especially within the first 15 minutes. I was like, oh, they're just remaking A New Hope here. I feel like it was right this time.
Yeah.
The next time they have to do something new. They can't just rehash Empire.
Yeah.
So as this movie stands, I think it did a very good job. And you want to give our rating right now? Again, go into more detail as to exactly why, or...
Well, I guess, like my final statement before giving that review, initially, yes, it is basically like a remake of Episode 4, but at the same time, we were wanting a film that was like the original trilogy. Like, we were tired of all of, like, the politics and, like, the blandness and all of that stuff. So I guess, to bring back, like, a winning formula really does work in the end. I think that Star Wars fans are never going to be happy sometimes. So I think that we should be happy with this because it established the universe, as you said.
Yes.
But Episode 8 cannot be a copy of Empire, meaning that it'd be kind of crazy if like Kylo Ren reveals that he's like a relative of Rey or something like that, and then at the end, Kylo Ren turns back to the good side, and you know what I mean?
They might. I have theories. We're not going to talk about them here, but they might do
You never know.
Who knows?
But yeah. So for me, like I'm gonna stand with that score of like a 4 out of 5 stars. This is better than the prequels, in my opinion. Maybe not as good as the original trilogy, but still a great Star Wars film, and I feel like Star Wars is back.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, I'm going to stick with my rating, 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this film. I thought not only did it bring back the classic Star Wars we love, it brought us in new characters that we can love as much, and yeah, definitely, I want to see more. I want to see this universe continue. I thought this movie really worked. It met my expectations exactly as I wanted it to. A little bit disappointments here and there, but really they're at most nitpicks.
Right.
I feel like this is a really good movie. I've seen it twice. I might even go back and see it a third time.
Definitely.
Really worth your time if you love Star Wars. And even if you don't, I feel like this could bring in new audiences since, it's kind of a remake of A New Hope.
Yeah.
So, and it does a very good job at catching you up on the older characters that definitely newer audiences can go in, enjoy the movie. Definitely a good time. Good job on you, Disney, Lucasfilm, and J.J. Abrams for giving us classic Star Wars again.
Welcome back, Star Wars, and thank you for watching Cody and Joey Reviews.
Yeah, thank you, and stay tuned for our next review.